let me introduce to you the statue of Amenhotep III. He is the father of the famous Akhenaten. He is the husband to Queen T, and Queen T's parents are Yuya and Tuya. They're very famous. There are a lot of things that we can find about them. So this is his quartzite statue. So what I'm going to explain a little bit about the statue, and then we're going to get into the hieroglyphs. And the hieroglyphs won't take very long. They're very simple. So this statue, Amenhotep III, of course, ruled in the 18th dynasty between 1390 to 1332 BC. This is carved out of rose quartzite, very strong stone, very beautiful. You can find it at the Luxor Museum, and it basically was discovered at the Luxor Temple. Now, the statue, of course, represents Amenhotep on a sledge. So let's get into the image a little bit. And I'll just do a quick explanation of the image. See if I can extend that out there. And we'll zoom into it so you guys can see what it's all about. So let's start from the top here. Let's come down. So you could see that this back is built like a stela. It's usually a podium that's held and the pharaoh stands in it. And he's pretty much in the very traditional posture of the pharaoh itself. He's wearing the double crown of Upper Egypt, which is the white and the red. There's just some piece, that's the way they were done. They were combined. He has the uriah on his head of royalty. It's a sign of protection. Technically, mythology states that if anybody should attack the pharaoh, the viper would come alive and spit on him, and so on and so forth. And you can see the beautiful detail here. He, of course, has all the regalia. He has the beautiful false beard that it's on there. On his chin, this is fake, not real. It's a false beard. You could see here that he has a collar, right? The Wesek collar. And it's not in detail, but all royalty during that time wore that collar. Of course, the two arm bracelets of gold on each one of his, on his forearms and his biceps. He's wearing a beautiful knotted kilt over here. You could see how the kilt is nicely attached. Below here, you could see an attachment. Usually there'd be a sort of jewelry that's attached to this kilt. And you'll see here there are 4 cobras, 2 facing to the left, 2 facing to the right, wearing the sun discs on head. Again, signs of protection and of Ra. As well, if I zoom in, it's poor quality. But here you see the throne name of Amenhotep, which I will translate later. And you can see here it says Neb Ma'atre. This means Lord or possessor of the truth of Ra, or Lord of the truth of Ra. And it has a sun disk as well. So a lot of it is associated with the sun disk. And he is leaning forward. So he has one foot forward, preferably the right foot is forward and the left foot is back or standing straight. And this is a posture of royalty, a posture of his divinity. It's just a standard thing that the Egyptians did, and it was pretty much been ongoing for thousands of years, all the way up to the Ptolemaic and Roman period. Down here, this is a little choppy and it's broken. A little scratched off, but you could see here the 2 titles, the titles of the throne name of Amenhotep. Let's see if I can zoom in here. Actually, before, let me say he's wearing sandals over here, his sandals, and you can see the sandals are carved down into the actual stone, the quartzite. And you see here, you can count them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's 5, 6, 7, 8, and it's 9 in the back. You don't see it, but these are the 9 bows. The traditional enemies of Egypt are basically, they're considered the 9 bows, but the Pesachette is also considered the Nubians. The traditional 9 enemies of Egypt, which I'm not going to name right now, it takes too long. I did a video on that, and he's basically stepping on them ritualistically, stepping on his enemies. And you can see that everywhere in Egyptian artifacts and Egyptian themes. Even Tutankhamun has a stool on his chair that he puts his feet on, and the enemies are there. He has sandals where the enemies are inside the sandals, and he basically, when he puts his foot in the sandal, he's stepping on his enemies. It's a ritualistic way of dominance and conquering your enemies. Down here you have so before I go to the quick translation here, because I have to do the back of it, you see this is a sled. He is standing on a sled. So you can see here on one side he has his throne name, and over here he has his personal name. All right, so he has 2 names. All pharaohs have 5 names. These are the later names, the most recurring names, the later names, and all pharaohs had them. So it's a sled. It's hard to see, but just imagine pulling a sled. It has these little curvatures up like that. And technically, the statue is ritualistically being dragged. So it's in a way to honor him, and by dragging the statue. Of course, the statue was never dragged. It was just representative of that. another aspect of title and divinity. Down here, you have two titles of the statue. You have some titles over here. Some of them are scratched off. It's very hard to read if I don't have another image, but I can see here that's the Lord of the Sky and the Earth. Very, very vague. But over here, you have the two titles. You have the throne name, which is what you address a king by. You never give the name of Queen Elizabeth. You just say, my lady or your grace. That's the title. And the king had this name. He was the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. And you had his name over here, where you see over here. And that same name is, remember, I showed you right on the kilt over here. So you have the three names of the pharaoh. Down here, you have the personal name by which only his family and closest companions called him by. This is the son of Ra title. It's been scratched off, but here is the name of Amenhotep, which means Amun is satisfied. And you cannot see it, but you'll see it after. Down here, you'll see it says basically ruler of Thebes. All right, so that's it. That is the statue of Amenhotep. You can find it at the Luxor Museum. It's quartzite, and I've given you the explanation for the statue. All right, now let's get into the translation. Let me swing this over like this, and we'll get into the translation for you. So we're going to expand this like this. So this is the front. This is just an older image, and that is the back of the statue. You can find images of it. I just didn't really want to go look. But over here now, what you see is this is the shape of a stela. If you all know what stelas are, or steles for plural, it's basically where it's like a bulletin board, a newspaper. The pharaoh announces things to the people or gives honor and praise to gods and worship. This one resembles a stela. It's a long, thinner, rectangular stela with a rounded top. These are pretty common. On the very top, the lunettes over here is what we call it. You have a title, an image. You have a winged disc on the top. You have Amun, you have the pharaoh, and you have some titles given to both the god and the pharaoh himself by the god, which I'll show you over here in a second. And then you have 4 columns of hieroglyphs, one of titles that begins and then gives honor to Amun and says the many things that Amun is and what he has done and what he represents. It's really just a glorified bulletin for Amenhotep. That's what it is. And that's it. And now comes the hieroglyphs. So what we're going to do is translate this for you from here. So let's look at the top. Let's examine the top first, and then we'll get into the hieroglyphs. I wonder if that swings over. No, I'll have to swing the camera over. Sorry for the shake. All right, here we go. This is what you're seeing. So what you saw over here is you're going to see over here. So what does the top show you? What is the symbology up here in this lunette over here? Well, it's very straightforward, pretty simple. Let me show you what it is. You have 2 wings here on opposite sides. This is the mother Mut. She is the protectress mother, basically a vulture wrapping her arms around you. This is symbolic as the mother was witnessed in nature. The vultures wrapping their arms around their children as protection. So this was taken and used as protection. In the center over here, you have the sun disk of Ra and the 2 cobras, the uriai, the same one you saw on the head of the statue, of the crown. It's protection. So the 2 protections of the lunette on top. So everything is a protective symbol. Now, what do you have down here? Well, the first thing, let's go to the god as we give respect to the god first. This is Amun, who is seated upon this throne. He is carrying the power scepter, the was scepter. And on his hand, you can't really see. It's not really clear, but I know what it is because he holds it all the time. This is the Ankh symbol. You know, the Ankh, the cross-shaped symbol, if you're not familiar with it. It's the symbol of life. So he's giving life and he is holding power. On top of his head, he is wearing the double-plumed crown. There's a crown here with 2 plumes, and on the back there is basically a tail that emerges from behind the crown itself, and that's pretty much it. That's the image of Amun most of the time you see on papyrus, on temples and walls, and even on the statues sometimes. On the right, you have, On the right, you actually have here Amenhotep III. He is wearing the blue crown, the kepresh, the blue crown of war. This crown is considered the war crown. It's mostly ritualistically worn over here. And you can see as well a little snake over here, the uriai. If you could spot it, right there, you can see that little cobra there sticking out. When we do that, we tend to lose this. All right, and he's giving an offering. Now, if you don't know what this is, usually it's an offering of oil, water, incense, but usually incense in a pot or oil in a little pot, but here you have the word bast. He is giving oil. This is actual oil or perfume. It could be one of the two. He is giving this as an honor over here to Amun over here. So this is what he's giving as an offering. A lot of people give different things when it comes to the gods, but that's what he's giving. All right, what do you have here on the right? Let's see what the right is. Well, you have a fan. So it's almost like if somebody's hot, you fan them. Well, that's a fan on the top over here. And it's usually carried by a servant, and he basically will fan on a hot day, or wherever the pharaoh or the royalty goes, they fan them. The fan is very symbolic. There's a reason why it's here. To be a fan bearer is a very prominent and reputable and respectable position. You're not just a slave like you think when you see in TVs and cartoons. To be a fan bearer is to be trusted by the pharaoh, to be close to him. So as to be basically, you're respected and honored by the pharaoh. He trusts you enough to be next to him, like the cupbearer. He trusts that you will be next to him, you will fan him, you will protect him from the sunlight, the heat of the sun. So Amenhotep is basically the fan bearer of Amun. That's what it is, the fan bearer of Amun. That's all it is. He is his protector. He is protecting the god from the rays of the light or the sun, what have you. All right, so that's pretty much it for the description over here. Now, what you have over here are the titles. Now, this is usually a giant vertical one, but what they've done is separated the two hieroglyphs because of space, and they have the two hieroglyphs on both sides. So this actually begins from the right and then moves to the left. The hieroglyphs, if you could see the cobra, which way it's facing the right side. So we're going to read from right to left, and over here it's facing from left to right. So let's read over here. So what you have here is the word Sa. This is the word for protection. And then you have the Unt. Remember the Unt that Amun is carrying in his hand over here? Well, it's right over here. It's the Unt. So protection, Unt, life. And then you have the word Ha, right, which means behind. And then you have the pronoun he, the cobra, the viper. And then the word Neb for all, depending where you position it. So what does this all say? Well, this is the one that I usually do for everybody, or say to everybody when I finish a video. It says, so basically, may you have all, you start with this word, all protection and life behind him. Now, I know it's weird the way I read it, but it's the way we have to make sense of it in English or other languages, but that's the way it's written. All protection and life behind him. Behind who? Behind Amenhotep III. He gets all the protection. And I forgot to mention that you see how he's basically kneeling with the leg outstretched. This is a very respectable, and it shows respect towards the god. Many cultures today show respect by bowing, as in the Japanese way. Maybe in the Muslims, when they pray, they lean on the ground and they bow on the ground as they pray. And the Egyptians would sometimes squat this way. But this is more, I believe, uncomfortable position. It's more meant to be ritualistic. So that's that. All right, now what do you have over here? Now let's get over to Amun. Amun has two things over here. Here, what you have is a protection that Amun gives to Amenhotep III. Over here, you have basically the word foremost, or of the first, right? And this is meant to be the foremost of the youth. So he is eternally youthful, basically, basically the foremost of youth. So he's forever youthful. So he is the first of the youth, technically, in that way. Over here, you have now what Amun also gives to Amenhotep III. He has here the word given. So he has the word, this is a bread loaf. It means the word to give. In Egyptian, it means the word di. And what you have here is to give life. But remember, we're going to read it the same way here. We're going to use the word all. So you can see the word all over here. You'll see it twice. So basically, he has given, right, all life to him. So of course, to Amenhotep III. And then over here it says all, and this is the word health, senep. Now, because the word senep occupies such a large space in this stela, or in this lunette over here, is because health was so critical and important to the Egyptians. Mortality rate was very low, so they needed to make sure that you ensured health in your life. So that was it. All right, perfect, wonderful. And now let's finish off the top. This is the register is divided into two sections. One goes to the left and one goes to the right. So you see where that line is right over here, that center line right there. This belongs over here and that belongs over there. This belongs to Amenhotep and this belongs to Amun. So his name is Amenhotep. It means Amun is satisfied. And this is Amun. So his state god is Amun. Now, what do you have over here? Is we have a title. It says, the good, an adjective, the good God. This is pretty standard titles. If you can remember these titles, you can read most of these inscriptions on the temples and tombs and statues and artifacts. So you have the good God, and now you have the throne name, the same one I showed you before on the statue. This is Neb-Ma'at-Re. This is the throne name by which you address the pharaoh. You don't address him by his personal, but by his throne name. So this means basically the possessor or the Lord of truth of Ra. So he is the Lord of truth of Ra, or the possessor of the truth of Ra. So Amenhotep is saying that he possesses the truth of the sun god Ra. All right. Over here it says given life. So he has been given life. Again, the same thing you see over here, given life, given life. The title has been given to him over here. And then over here now we'll talk about Amun. Now this title here is about Amun. It's hard to see, but let me see if I can pop it up. It's a little off. It's very difficult to see because I've zoomed this entire image. So what you have here, is Amun. This is his title. Amun, Lord. Okay, there's a word Lord, Neb. Remember the word Neb, which is right here. I forgot to add another yellow. So it's Lord of the monuments and the two lands from what I can make over here, or appearances and the two lands. Very difficult to see. Then over here you have the ruler of Thebes. So he is the ruler of Thebes. Thebes is a Greek name. It's Luxor in Arabic. So he's the ruler of Luxor, and in Egyptian it is the ruler of Waset. Egyptians called Thebes Waset, and you'll see it here again at the bottom. And that's it for the lunette, everybody. The only thing I'm going to show you is what's below the lunette over here. You see this giant rectangular horizontal thing right over here. This is a pet. This is the sky, the canopy above all of us. You get shaped into the word pet, and you'll see this everywhere on Egyptian statues, monuments. Everything covers the top of the sky like that. The first thing you see is up here. This is the Horus. So it represents the ancient name. It's inside a serach. You see a little frame like that. That looks like that's a palace. So the king is inside the palace, and that's how it's denoted. So what you have is the bull, the mighty bull, right? Who appears in truth. That is the name of the Horus. Moving on. He is the good God of existing in truth. He is the sovereign. So you see, this is the word sovereign, right? The sovereign. He is the ruler of the 9 bows. Remember what he was stepping on the statue? The 9 bows. The 9 bows. So the 9 standard enemies of Egypt, right? If you count that, there's 9 over here. For all those Egyptian fans, you want to know how it's saying? It's actually Pejet. Pejet. This is how it's pronounced. Now, this I'm going to come back to. This is very important. My last note before I finish the video, I'll explain something very important here and why Egyptologists really see this as something very crucial. And when I do the next video about the scarab beetle hieroglyph, you'll see what I mean. All right. The next thing you're going to come up with is right over here, which is the sun disk, which is radiant for all the regions or all the lands. Continuing over here. So this is his title. Now down here, his uraeus. Now the uraeus is what's on his head. The cobra on his head, on his crown, is gleaming. All right, continuing down here. And lightens up the 2 lands right there. These are the 2 lands. These are riverbanks on each side of the river or the Nile. This is what it represents. Moving on. Now we come over to here. This is the excellent, so the king, who is excellent and who is rich or fortunate in monuments. He is the guarantor or the lord of the laws and the one who establishes the 2 lands. You see the 2 lands? They're right over here again. The 2 lands, right up here, the 2 lands. All right, so that's the first column. So this is a little bit about who he is. Let's continue straight over here now. He is the one who perfects the domains or the temples of, this is the plural, right? This is the masculine plural of, this is the singular right over here. let's say this again, who perfects the domain of the gods, right? The Necheru, the gods, and who celebrates, this is a festival word, right? The Seb, who celebrates their sanctuaries. Moving on. Now we come over here, who is great and of the sacred and prestigious monuments. We could say that too. Sorry, right over here. Let's go like this. Now, this is going to be a weird way to pronounce it, but let me just tell you what each word means. This is the word not, the negative for not. So like I'm saying do not, or just the negative. Not, this is time, the word time or occasion. This is the word to do something or an action. And this is the word for equal. So what you have is, in no time was there anything done of this equal. So basically saying nobody has made anything he has done in this world. These four words combined. All right, let's continue on. You're coming back to the word king again, which you saw over here, and it's back over here again. The king who is vigilant for his children, the one who makes joy for, now it's going to be missing, his cause or his ka. Now this is missing over here. We know this is the word Amun, but it's missing over here. So Amun, the Lord of the thrones and the two lands. Now what you see over here was pretty much what you saw up there. You see here? This little thing right here? That's the same one you're going to see right over here. A lot of these repeat. So there it is. Lord of the thrones and the two lands. Now, he, or the creator of his beauties. Now, this is a four-part composition. It's grammatical. It's a little difficult to explain, but let me just say, this who creates his beauties. All right. Now let's go over here. Now we enter the titles of the pharaoh, which you saw up here. This is, you see the title over here, and it's all over his statue. This is the throne name title. This is the king of Upper and Lower Egypt, the sedge plant and the bee, so the Upper and Lower Egypt symbols. Here is his throne name, which is, we pronounce Neb Ma'at Re. Now, this is called a honorific transposition. We don't say Re Ma'at Neb. We say Neb Ma'at Re, because we give honor to the god by putting them first. It's disrespect to put them in the back. So this is a rule in the Egyptian language and in the cartouches. So Lord of the truth of Ra, or the possessor of the truth of Ra, whichever way you want to translate it. Moving on. Whose spirit, now this is the word heart, but remember the Egyptians are everything symbolic. They have the heart as being the spirit, the center of the spirit. So the heart could be the word heart, but it can also mean the spirit. So whose heart is beneficent to the children of Amun. And who are the children of Amun? Everybody. We are all the children of Amun. And that's how it's being described. He or him is distinguished among the millions. So Amenhotep is basically distinguished. He is put in front of everybody on earth because he is the pharaoh. He who decrees or commands, so the word he who commands or decrees, valor and strength. Valor and strength. He who commands or decrees valor and strength. Continuing down. Now you come to the personal name of the pharaoh. Only those who were close to the pharaoh and family and royalty were able to use his personal name. This is the son of Re name. So he is the son of Ra. This is the last title that came into usage for the 5 names. It ends in this 5th name. This is now the name of Amenhotep. It's been scratched out. So Amenhotep basically means Amun is satisfied, and then it finishes off with the title of it, which is basically, it says Hekawaset, which means Amun is content, the ruler of Thebes. So Amun is ruler of Thebes. So Amenhotep is actually the name of a title. It means something. Let's continue. Now, who is now Amenhotep? Well, it continues here. The Lord of all, and you have here the word foreign lands. Now, this is very interesting. I'll teach you something here in the hieroglyphs. These two words are identical. They're the word neb. When it's on top of the sentence, it means Lord. When it's on the bottom of the sentence, it means all, or everything, or all things. So this is the Lord of all foreign lands. The word foreign lands is pronounced, if you know you're Egyptian, it's pronounced chasset. Chasset. And chasset is feminine. So the word all has a letter T. Whenever you see a T, the word is feminine. So chasset, all foreign lands, and this is the word. So you can't, not conjugate, but you I forget the word in English, but you must also make this feminine, even though it's singular. Neb is singular, nebet is feminine. And this is the same word used for ladies or mistresses, depending where you put it on top. So Lord of all the foreign lands. Let's continue. All right, so here it says, the one who is made faithful to the gods of Thebes or Waset. So now, what you have here is the one who provides their offering. So this is the word provisions, the one who provides their offering. Now we continue here. So he gives offering to the gods. And over here now, the final column, what you have is the one who is or truly is the king, right? He's saying that he is the king. He is the master or the Lord of exaltation or joy or happiness. So Amenhotep is a joyful person. He's saying, I'm the Lord of joy. He is also the Lord of the two lands, right? The two lands, the Taui. And then we get his throne name again. He is the Neb Ma'at Re, which is the Lord of the possessor of the truth of Ra. And then his personal name again, the son of Ra. His beloved. So he is the beloved of Amun. Who? Amenhotep, and basically Amenhotep and the ruler of Thebes. And then basically over here is you're going to have the word Khenti, which is the word foremost, right? Foremost. And this is the foremost of the spirits of all the living. So Amenhotep's spirit is before everyone else. We're almost done, guys. We're finishing up over here. So the one who appears upon his, the word his is right here. It's damaged. I know that's a pronoun. His father's throne. And we're almost done. We're coming down here. Now that's also damaged over here. So we'll just go down to here. His joy. So something ends with the word his joy. So it could be Lord of something and his joy, gladness. And then we finish it off, everybody. He reigns or rules the two lands like Ra or equal to Ra forever and for eternity. And that's it, everybody. That is the translation of the Amenhotep statue. The only last thing I'm going to add is something very interesting. Now, a lot of people think Akhenaten was the first to introduce the concept of the Aten, the sun disk worship, the single god worship, and every other god was abandoned. No problem. My pleasure, Yosef. But if you notice here, this is what's something that we all look at very, very carefully. Over here, this is very interesting. This is the word gleaming. This is the word Aten. This is Amenhotep III. Remember, this is the father of Akhenaten. The father. Yet we see the name of Aten in here. Now, we've seen Atens before. We've seen the word sun disk before. But it's very interesting that the gleaming Aten of all the lands of... So look, let me show you here. The gleaming... The Aten that gleams. The Aten that gleams of all the lands. So basically, the Aten has been given reverence here. Usually it's Osiris, Amun, Isis, Nephthys, other gods, Anubis, Thoth. They're all given titles. But to give the Aten reverence of all the lands, this harks to what will be coming down the line with Akhenaten, who not only is probably been taught about the Aten and to love and care about the Aten, and maybe Akhenaten was influenced by his father's beliefs and maybe even his mother T, and in turn chose to turn the Aten. And I'm going to show you in the next video I'm going to post the scarab. So let me just finish here. So let me go over here. I want to show you this. This is the next thing I'm going to translate for all of you. This is the scarab beetle. This is a scarab, okay? So this was used, and I'll put this in another video. This is an offering. So Amenhotep III created scarabs at the bottom of the scarab. I'll show you the front. The bottom of the scarab, he put hieroglyphs. He commemorated something. So instead of putting a giant bulletin board, he just made thousands of these and sent them out throughout the city to whoever. And they were all hand carved, thousands of these. And what you have here is an offering or basically Amenhotep describing his wife T and her parents, they were commoners. By the way, his wife T, which he loved the best, she's the first queen or the first royal wife, was a common woman, and her parents were commoners. But this commemorates a lake that he built for T, for his wife, a lake. He built a lake. And then he built a boat for her, and then he named the boat something very interesting, very unusual, which also harks to the Aten. The boat was named the Gleaming Aten. The Gleaming Aten. Now, I'm going to tell you where it is. It's right over here. See that symbol for the boat? That's the boat. This is the word gleaming, and that's Aten. The Gleaming Aten. That's the name of the boat. So it's very interesting that the Akhenaten harks, basically, this is already being done during his parents' time. But he basically went the next step and completely made Aten the first god. I don't think they intended to do that, but he did that anyways. So very interesting. All right, everybody. So that's it for the video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you guys tuning in. I will put this on YouTube, and you can check it out afterwards.